Eoin O'Callaghan is going to join us in just seconds here. We're going to talk about York United, and of course, I'm talking about the CPL. And in the infancy of any league, especially a grassroots league that is professional, this is the toughest that you're going to have it. You hear words like fledgling. There's a lot of words that you will see that is attached to a new professional league. But when you look at the success, really, of any national program, it really does start at these kinds of levels. If you want to have a successful or a bloodline that lends itself to eventual success down the road, it is vitally important that you have a functioning professional league at this level. And you can go across the world and look at those that have, fantastic programs and usually a heritage of football, but they do have it from the lowest of levels, and a place where when you cultivate the sport domestically, there is a league you can play in. Without that, it becomes so difficult, and which is why, you'd see, the women certainly had success with a lot of their players who played at big time universities in the United States. They'd played places in Europe. They come back and play. But for the men, it's almost impossible, which is why, you'd see them ranked in the 115th or whatever. Well, how do you possibly compete with no professional league? Well, the minute that the CPL was announced, I think it was just all really great news. And this is the part, and as I said, in the first several years of a league, where it's really tough treading. Talk about finances. We had not that long ago Angus McNabb, who joined us and talked almost exclusively about the financial challenges, aside from the joy of the sport itself, aside from the success of a team wanting to win and the young athletes. How do you keep it afloat? How do you become competitive if the player is good enough, especially in this sport, then you're wanted literally around the world. That's a tough place to be in. That's very, very competitive. And someone who knows more, a good friend of ours, and I believe is it the czar of content? What is it? What are you calling yourself now, Owen?
I think Grand Wizard is the official title. I'd have to clarify that, but I think that's very close.
Yes,
I want to see that business card.
Yeah. Well, congratulations, by the way, on that job. It's you are so fixed into this sport, but to have you here in Canada and be a part of this and join the show, fantastic to see you, my friend. Very good.
Thank you for having me, as always. Appreciate it.
So the challenges early, I just talked a bit about what happens. So for you on this side, for what you do, what are these challenges with York United?
I'd say challenges on one side, but opportunities on another. I think the biggest thing is it's a little bit like an open book. So you can map your own path in terms of your own identity, in terms of your content. And a big thing for us is these guys are professional players and they are worthy of attention. And just because they may not play in the Premier League, just because they may not play in the UEFA Champions League, does not mean they have stories to tell. It does not mean they have interesting careers. And a lot of these guys are career footballers. They've bounced, as you've touched on, they've bounced to various pockets of the world to fuel their own love of this game. And before the CPL came along, they weren't able to do that in their own country. Maybe it was the third tier of a league in Europe. Maybe it was somewhere in Scandinavia. And for them to be back here means a lot to them. And in terms of their own situations and in terms of their stories, we get an opportunity to brand that a little bit. We get an opportunity to put their face out there and to create a little bit of a buzz around these guys, because also what you want to do is I guess that the biggest dream for us is you have a kid in Brampton, or you have a kid in Milton, or you have a kid in Stoyville or Unionville or Markham. Our goalkeeper Nico Giantsopoulos is a Markham kid. You want these kids in these parts of the world to look at these guys and say, that's what I want to be. Mm-hmm. And it's fantastic on one level to obviously dream bigger and think of the biggest stage around in football, but at that level you now have these guys around you and you can reach out and you can touch them and you can say, I want to be Nico Giantsopoulos when I'm 21. I want to play a CPL, a Markham guy. That's what I want. And these guys are maybe a little bit more approachable, and that sort of pathway seems a little bit more achievable, rather than the fanciful, hugely optimistic, dream of jumping to Premier League football. It happens to the 1% of the 1%. But what the CPL offers is a pathway to help you on your way there. And in terms of a content perspective, and what we try to do is we try to wrap a lot of other various bits and pieces around these guys. Give them a little bit of a platform. It's not just recaps of games and previews of upcoming fixtures. Who are these people? Who are the guys that we want the kids to have their names on the back of the shirts? Like, what's their story and who do they represent, and how excited are they to play for our club? But as well as that, there's various other opportunities in terms of the community, figuring out our own supporters, what their stories are, why they're investing in our club. So it's very exciting, very, very grateful to be a part of what we're trying to do, and very excited about the opportunities ahead as well.
When you look at everything you've done in your life, Owen, at many different levels and many different places, here at York United, you're also enjoying the distinct pleasure of watching almost, we kind of talked about it in a commercial break, almost the molding of the clay of the player that you saw from year one over to year two, and the development of that particular person. There's a certain pleasure in watching something like that, and what that second year player does in his third year and so forth. Are you experiencing a lot of this with this team right now?
It's incredible. I have to say it's so exciting, because you even rewind to last year. It's a difficult situation for everybody. COVID was just an uncertain thing, and you're trying to put a timeline together, and it was just impossible. And last year obviously was a bubble tournament in PEI, and we had a lot of young kids involved in that tournament. And like anything, they're thrown in at the deep end. It's a bit of a baptism of fire, but there's moments of their rawness being really on show, and they come back for this season, and they're men. That's the biggest thing for me. They are footballers now, and again, you bring it back to CPL. Sometimes it's a title. These guys are professionals, and what that does for a psyche and an understanding and a mentality for people. You feel you feel a bit taller. You feel a bit stronger, and these guys. It's the league has a requirement for under 21 minutes. So it's a mandate thing. So, the league will say, to ensure that we develop our players, our young players, we want every club at a minimum level for the entire season, 1,500 minutes for under 21 players. And I'll just get the correct figure for us. We smashed that figure after 4 games of the current season. So regular season, 28 games, we smashed that 1,500 figure after 4 games. That is our investment in under 21 players. And right now, after 7 games, is 2,865 minutes. And the league mandate is 1,500 for the entire campaign.
Right.
So now, that's what we want people to get excited about. Because it's all very well to preach about young players, giving them opportunities. This is giving young players opportunities. It's full games. It's not just 7 minutes off the bench. The only way that these guys are going to get bigger and stronger and better is by fully immersive experiences on the field. They, lose a couple of games, deal with that level of adversity, but they'll come back stronger. That's how this happens.
I'm just curious, Owen, knowing that when it first started, and Scott Mitchell being a part of the planning of the league itself, because there's a lot of, and of course when you look at where some of these teams come from, there really is a connection, at least for ourselves as a Canadian CFL fans. Right. So you see where the cities are, which is very much CFL oriented. But the understanding here in Canada, we had, it's a little bit different now, but it was called a non-import rule. Right. So you had to have so many Canadians. That's how the league was basically built. If you had better Canadians, you probably won a championship, because you can get all the American players that you want and all the All-Americans and former NFL guys or whatever. But the teams generally that were successful came from within. It came from the Canadians. And it seems like that mandate to put those kinds of minutes on young players, it has this similar feel to it, which is an understanding that if you want to be successful, it's not just picking up all these players who maybe had a cup of coffee with, whoever, and then bring them all over, all their super friends. But generally you'll find that's not how you win anyway. It's got to be from the ground and internally up, and got to be with your Canadians. So I do like that rule. I think it's a smart rule. I think it's better for the league. It's obviously better for the players and the country, but it's actually better for the team and the league itself, where the strength comes from within.
And I think as well, a big aspect of it for us is a connection to your local clubs. All these kids have come through the ranks at various other nurseries, be it in the GTA, be it in other places. And that's an incredible reflection on their coaches, their mentors at that level as well, in terms of a grassroots, because now there's something for those players to look ahead to. There is a clear pathway. And, I think that's very important for us, and also working alongside those clubs in terms of showcasing the pros that we now have, who are 19, 20 years old, but just a couple of years ago were playing at a certain level for their local club. And that's really integral to what we want to do. Like, in saying that, as you guys would know better than anyone else, that there needs to be a balance to every team. You can't just rely on your bunch of teenagers to get you through games. And we also are very, very blessed to have a couple of guys who have been around football for quite a while and have plenty of experience under their belt, and they're veterans at 27.
The old guys.
They're grizzly old guys at 27. So again, it comes back, to Gus, who you had on a couple of weeks ago, building a group that is balanced. Because even with that, at 19 or even when you're younger, you're still impressionable. You still need other members of that locker room to be a certain type of personality, certain types of characters. Can they lead, and can they inspire? Can they motivate younger players? Rather than bitch and moan and whinge, and that's the impression that you're leaving on your younger players, and that kind of rubs off on them. So it's a bit of a chemistry experiment all the time. You're really trying to find that sweet spot. And in terms of the group that we have, it's I'm obviously very, very biased, but I've been around footballers for a long time, and I've been in their company and in their orbit for a long time. But there's a level of investment in these guys that's just very, very special. That they're a very, very good group of guys, and terrific personalities. The young guys are. I'm always amazed at how eloquent these guys are. We've put them in situations, be it interview situations, or be it doing other content related bits for the club, and I'm thinking, when I was 17. Being asked to do something like this, I would have crumbled. And yet they have the confidence to be themselves. And we did something last year about the Black Lives Matter movement, and we had our Black players gathered together for a kind of a sit down chat about their own experiences in Canada. And I'm looking at these kids, the way they talk, and the way that they're so open and so intelligent, and so compelling in what they're discussing. And again, a reflection of their families, their upbringing, their roots, their education, and to have them part of the organization is absolutely terrific for us.
Well, Owen, we got about 30 seconds here. I wanted to get this in. July 30th is a very important date for York United. You can finally return back to York Lions Stadium. Do we know any details about attendance and obviously ticket sales? And we urge our audience to head out there and see it live, because nothing's better than a game live in person. But what can you tell us about July 30th?
July 30th. Well, firstly, we're going to win. We're going to beat Forge and take 3 points. That's the most important thing. The official website, yorkunitedfc.ca, will have all of the ticketing information. We have season ticket packages available, but also single game tickets now for that game on July 30th. This is the one we've waited a long time for, to have our fans back. They've been so patient and understanding in terms of everything that's gone on. And we just want to see them, and we want to see them there cheering us on. We want to create that atmosphere. We want to make our stadium a very, very difficult place to come for other teams, and that's based around atmosphere and building that from the ground up. And we are incredibly excited. July 30th, we play Forge FC, the Hamilton-based team, local rivals, a local derby, to get the motor running a little bit. And it's going to be very, very special. We're working on building a very, very sort of special atmosphere for every home game moving forward this season, but particularly that one. We want to see everyone there in their colours. We want to just make it a very, very magical night for everybody involved, a very, very memorable night, and it will be when we beat them.
Now, you say you're going to beat them. I'm going to head to Boyle Sports. Could you make an accumulator? Could you tell me by how much? Can you do that?
Well, Mike, there's a lot of parity in this league. I would gladly take a 2-1. I would gladly take a 1-0.
Okay.
It's going to be a tight affair. I would say that, as any derbies tend to be.
So York under 3.5. You heard it here. You heard it here. That's content, people.
That is content. We got to get you. We got to get you on to do like a weekly betting insider column for us, maybe.
I'm a what do they say? A chancer. A bit of a chancer. I am. Yeah, I can do that for you.
A chancer and a prancer.
Yeah. Hey, we will do this again, Owen.
Yes.
It's lovely to see you, and it's exciting to be a part of something like this. And of course, the game's right here on Newstalk Sauga 960, and we're just thrilled to be a part of it. So obviously, you take care. Lovely to see you this morning, and we will do this again very soon.
Thank you, guys. As always, appreciate the time.